Wow, mabuhay, and welcome. Welcome back to the channel. I can't believe we're here again. I can and I can't. It's been a year of Filipino American creative, and I can't believe how much has happened this past year. Most of it I couldn't have planned for. I mean, like, there really was a lot that I could not have planned, even if I tried. Today, I'm gonna share with you the 8 biggest assumptions that I had when I sat my butt down in this seat 1 year ago about doing Filipino American creative, about being on YouTube, about being a Filipina vlogger. The first biggest assumption that I had is that I thought that the Filipino community was gonna think that I was absolutely batshit crazy. I thought they were gonna be like, what the heck is she doing? She doesn't know anything about the Filipinos, even though she's Filipino. Like, who does she think she is? Like, really, that was the biggest hang up I had about doing this series. Is I was like, they're gonna think, who does she think she is? I really didn't know who I was in terms of my Filipino identity. I was just like, I have no idea. That's why I had to start the channel, was to answer that question. I thought that they were gonna think I was crazy and just be like, totally like, reject. I have to say, I was so wrong for so many reasons, but the things that showed me that I was not right in thinking that I would be rejected by the Filipino community is by the way that I was brought in, the way that I was like sucked in. You know, it was like, people were like, yes, you're doing this. And like, every time I've shared this with people who are, regardless of what ethnicity they are or what heritage they come from, every single person that I've spoken to, Filipino, not Filipino, has been like, that's so rad. Wow, that's so cool. They at least have this initial reaction of, wow, that's really cool that you're gonna dive deep into your heritage, dive deep into the Philippine culture that so many people know so little about, but that they're gonna find out soon enough because we're just like crushing it right now. That open-heartedness and that encouragement really meant the world to me, and it really reinforced that I can do this. Like, I really was expecting like groups of people to be like, what are you doing? You know, get out of here. And I'm sure that there are lots of people who were like, what is she doing? But at the same time, I realized that that assumption that I had that I was gonna be rejected was totally bunk. Totally bunk. The second assumption that I had was that Filipinos are not proud of being Filipino. I have seen so much this past year alone, and I feel like it's growing, but at the same time, like, I know that there's a lot of these influencers and Filipinos who are super proud of being Filipino that have been there for years doing this, and they're just finally getting a platform and a place to share that they're proud. So yeah, I mean, the idea that Filipinos aren't proud about being Filipino, absolute bullshit. Total bullshit. It's not only in terms of like, oh, we're proud to be Filipino, but it's also in the creations that they're, like, the things that people are creating as Filipinos that are tied to our culture. There's so many Filipinos who are like, I'm gonna do something really ultra creative and ultra awesome, and it's gonna pick up steam, and by the way, it's like rooted and like blaring out and screaming out, this is a Filipino creation. Food, clothing, music. What's cool about what's happening is that not only am I discovering that Filipinos are actually really super ultra proud about being Filipino, but we're starting to kick off into the mainstream. And so there's gonna be even more stuff for us to be proud about. It is so just the beginning, and it is so cool to be a part of that, like, ascendance of, hey, we're here, and we've been here. And by the way, these are the awesome things that we do as Filipinos. Things are starting to cross over into the mainstream. And yeah, the pride factor is just gonna go up. And in a good way, you know, not an arrogance, not a we're better than, but just in a way that's like, yeah, we're this, what are you? Yeah, cool. The third assumption that I had, and this ties back to the first assumption I had that the Filipino community was gonna reject me, is that I didn't think that I was Filipino enough. This conversation happens a lot with Filipinos today. I don't think it happens in the Philippines, but what's really interesting about what's happening in the Philippines is that there is this movement. This is something that really blew my mind this year that I learned, is that Filipinos in the Philippines are not even learning Filipino. They're not learning Tagalog, and they're not learning their like native tongue. They're only learning English and Spanish. That blows my mind. I was like, how can you be in your own country and not learn the language? But there's a lot of reasons for that. That has to do with colonization of the mind and the spirit and all of that stuff, and the rejection of who we are because of that. But having said all of that, the reason why I bring that up is because it sort of points to this pervasive question that a lot of Filipinos today have, which is, I'm not Filipino enough. And that's because it's tied to what I just shared, which is there is an inherent Filipino global rejection of being Filipino that makes us wonder if we are Filipino enough because we have a desire to be Filipino. It's a kind of a mind trip, right? The fact that we have this desire to be Filipino means that we don't feel like we're Filipino enough. And that stems from the inherent rejection that the generations prior and even to this day have of being Filipino. The fact that we're having these conversations, and the conversations that I'm having with especially early 20-something-year-olds, mid 20-something-year-olds, early 30s, they're like, am I Filipino enough? I want to find out how to become more Filipino, or how to embrace my Philippine culture. I had an amazing conversation with Nicoletta and her sister. These sisters are just the most amazing trio of sisters about, are we Filipino enough and what does it mean to be Filipino? Because they're half Filipino. And so that even makes them feel even more, am I Filipino enough? That was another conversation that I had no idea existed. Like, am I allowed to be Filipino because I'm only half? Like, that blew my mind. And I kept trying to tell them, I was like, look, the fact that you get together with your family, the fact that you share Filipino food, the fact that you're asking this question, the fact that you're living your life in the States, being half Filipina and wanting to learn more and wanting to cultivate and recognize and honor and be aware of what it means to be Filipina means that you are Filipina enough. And that was the big lesson that I learned this year, is the whole question of, am I Filipina enough, or Filipino enough, or Filipinx enough? Just the fact that you're living your life, that you look this way, that you are writing the story of what it means to be Filipino. That's the answer. Oh gosh, I just gave myself goosebumps, because this is a question I've been asking myself for so long, and I feel like this is a part of the answer. This is my take on the answer to this question. Am I Filipino enough? The fact that you experience even just the littlest inkling of being Filipino, that is being Filipino enough. So go for it. Go find out more, learn more, embrace it, be excited about it, think it's cool. Like, that's it. Like, that's all you have to do. Like, you don't have to eat pancit every day and have the big spoon and fork on your wall to be Filipino enough. It's just the fact that you already have it in you, that the ancestors gave you their lineage and their stories, that makes you Filipino enough. The next two are kind of like cute little, assumptions that I had. The first one is that I thought that there were no Filipinos in Arizona before 1980. The reason why I chose the year 1980 is because that was the year that my family landed in Arizona. So of course, arrogant me is going to think there were no Filipinos in Arizona before we got here. We were the first. We were the pioneers of being Filipino in Arizona. Bull hawking shit. I learned from my friend Lonnie Patubo that Filipinos have been around since the early 1900s in the desert, planting, making families, getting together with the Hispanic community. They have been here for a while, a lot longer than just 1980. And the fact that they had communities and neighborhoods in downtown Phoenix, when Arizona was, even before Arizona became a state, Filipinos were here. Yeah, they've been here for a while. And you know where they came from? They came from California. They were in California, and then they migrated to Washington, Alaska, Oregon, and Arizona, New Mexico. That's what the migrant farmers were doing when they first got here from the motherland. First they landed in Hawaii. Usually they landed first in Hawaii, and then they spread out to the mainland, and then that's when they came, they kind of spread out. And then there was the other group of Filipinos that came because of I forget what it's called, but the Filipinos that came to the East Coast, the Pensionado Act. There were intellectuals that were coming to the East Coast and going to the schools there. There are also Filipinos in California that were also part of the Pensionado Act. So there was this two major groups of Filipinos that came to the United States, and then from there they came to Arizona, and that's why we had Filipinos way before the Milans decided to land in Phoenix. So ridiculous. The next assumption that I had is that I would learn how to speak conversational Tagalog in a year. Yeah. That didn't happen. So one of my big goals for 2022 was to learn conversational Tagalog and be able to have conversations in Tagalog with my parents by the end of the year. I'm still at the absolute beginner level of the program that I bought to learn Tagalog. But it is my big goal to learn Tagalog this year. I personally believe, and this is the same feeling that I had when I went to Germany and lived there for 10 years, I really wanted to learn the language of the country because I felt like I could get to a deeper level with people. I feel the same way about Tagalog. So I am on a mission to learn Tagalog. I need to do more. Like right now, I'm still learning numbers. I keep confusing 4 and 6, which is apat and anim, or is it anim and apat? Isa, dalawa, tatlo, apat, lima, anim, pito, walo, siyam, sampu. And then I'm learning like bigger numbers too, which are like German, like they just keep expanding. Like the bigger the number, the bigger the Tagalog word for that number. But it is my mission to learn Tagalog this year. The hardest thing that I'm finding with learning Tagalog is the pronunciation. I sound so ridiculous. Okay, I need to get over that, but I feel like I sound so ridiculous because I emphasize the wrong part of the word, and I'm just really super critical and hard on myself. I need to get over that in order to just learn the language. And I think I also just need to listen and watch more telenovelas. Like, I think that's just the easiest and most fun way to probably learn Tagalog. The next assumption that I had, and this is in specific to my channel, is that I assumed that I would film every single video in my living room just like this. If you notice, the first 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe, 9 videos that I do are in a living room, a room of some sort. They're stationary. It's just me talking. That kind of flew out the window like early on. I got on my feet and I went running and I started to just explore the world. Like I drove myself all the way up the coast of California in order to visit Morro Bay, my cousin, to do the interview for Filipino on the Rise. I ended up in New York filming with Michael Sagarello, and then I was down in Louisiana as I drove cross country to film down at the first settlement of Filipinos that came there and actually settled in the United States. I got to see that place as I was driving my butt across the country. I went to Germany, I filmed there, I filmed in Israel, I filmed everywhere. Suddenly my channel became a vlog, which I totally did not expect. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna be a talking head, I'm just gonna be educational, I'm just gonna share information. It'll be great, it'll be easy. And then suddenly I became a travel vlogger and a Filipino vlogger, and I started to share my life. I have to thank Bronx from the Mystery School for inspiring me and, putting the fire under my butt to go deeper on my channel and on the pursuit of what it means to be Filipino. Like just that, hey, who's your audience? What are you trying to say? What are you doing? I want to feel the struggle of what it means to be Filipino. And I still am wrapping my mind around what that could look like and what that means. But I feel like I kind of started to scratch the surface in terms of like what that means exactly, to go deeper when it comes to the search and the discovery of what it means to be Filipina. So thanks, Bronx. And he's challenged me again. And we'll see how that lands. I'm really hoping that coincides with what I'm feeling for the channel and what it is that I want to do. But like he has definitely challenged me again, and I'll share that with you in another episode. But like, yeah, it's good stuff. Like the Mystery School and the way that he frames what it means to be a creative is really just up-leveling the way that I go about discovering my Philippine heritage. The next assumption that I want to share with you is actually going to reveal a little bit about myself. So, and this is not a big deal. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. It's just a number. But I am 43 years old. I don't know if anybody knew that, but I turned 43 while I was doing this channel. So I'm not spring chicken here. And I didn't realize that everybody doing YouTube, social media, all this stuff that I'm doing are like half my age. That was the other assumption I had. I thought, okay, I knew that there weren't many Filipinos that are doing what it is that I do. I knew that, Michelle Wong, who I talked about in my monetization video, she is amazing. Like she actually started her channel around the same age that I am now. And she's crushing it. You know, goals. I really hope to be her one day, as well as many other people that I look up to and see as sort of like mentors in this space. And she's also not spring chicken, but she's just doing her thing. And she's sharing her life, and she's sharing her love of makeup and lifestyle and all of these beautiful, wonderful things that she's doing. I saw her because my sister recommended her to me. And then I was just like looking and I was scrolling. I was like, oh, she must be at least 30. Oh yeah, he must be at least this. Everybody else is younger than me. Except for Michelle. And I don't know, I'm sure there's other people out there who are doing what I do and doing what we do that are also older, but like, I didn't realize that that's kind of like a unique thing for what it is that I'm like. I'm kind of old to be doing this, and I didn't realize that everybody that I would be like connecting with is like, could literally be my children. It's very humbling. It is so humbling, and I'm so grateful that I still have the energy and that I have the wherewithal and I have the, I don't know, I'm crazy enough to want to still do this at my age, but this is lifelong. I'm not going to be stopping anytime soon. So I'm just going to continue to get older, and everybody's going to continue to get younger. And then the younger people will start to age as well. And then they'll see what it's like to suddenly be like, wow, you're all so young. And it's fine. It's great because I get to learn so much from other people who have been doing this, and they're like cutting edge, and they're learning new things, and they're so much faster, and there's so much, I mean, it's really great. It is so great to be older doing this, because I always felt like I was going to do something really, really freaking cool when I was older. I just didn't realize that it would mean that would mean that everybody would be so much younger. But whatever, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Makeup makes it all better, and so does doing your hair, and maybe I'll start doing my nails and stuff, but whatever. Yeah. Sometimes I get a little bit insecure about it, but it's okay. It's going to be fine. The last assumption that I had is that I didn't realize, and I didn't think, that doing a YouTube series about my culture would be so magical. I'm going to start crying again. I really didn't realize it was going to be so magical. Like, again, the things that I have gotten to do because of this series, the things that I feel encouraged to do and have the motivation to do. Like, honestly, I would never have gotten up on that horse in Petra and met Lost and had that whole adventure if it wasn't for this channel. I wouldn't have driven my butt all the way across the United States and gone all the way down to New Orleans to see St. Bernard Parish and experience, and I wouldn't have driven out to Morro Bay, and I wouldn't have driven out to see my cousin and do the interview with her up in, NorCal. And I mean, all the things that I'm so blessed to have been able to do, and all of the things that I know I'm going to get to do because of this series. I had no idea how magical this experience was going to be. And the most important piece of the magic puzzle that I have to say is, and I really sincerely mean this, is you. You make all the difference. Your presence, the fact that you're watching, the fact that you're talking about this, the fact that you're sharing this, however it is that our paths cross, whether it's because I know and see you and we're actually in the same space, or just because we're digitally crossing paths or whatever, you make all the difference, and you are the reason why this is so magical, because you are inspiring this every single moment. When I'm tired, when I don't want to edit anymore, when I'm going cross-eyed because I've been staring at my computer for 15 hours, all of the things that make me just want to quit, I don't, because of how special and magical this whole experience is, because of what it means to be Filipino, what it means to be first gen, what it means to be searching for identity, what it means to be sharing this with you, what it means to be doing a YouTube channel, what it means to be living and struggling and overcoming and struggling again and overcome. It's like the magic is here because of where I come from, where it is I am today, and where I am headed with you. So thank you. Maraming salamat po. I know so much more about my heritage because of this series, and because I get to share it with you, and I am so excited about what's going to happen in the future. Quick little hint, sneak peek, I am planning a trip to the Philippines. Like, that is the biggest piece of the puzzle that I now, the next mountain, the way I'm going to up level this whole thing, the way I'm going to go deeper is by visiting the motherland. So I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. And we're going to like figure it out together, because you make all the difference. That's it for this episode. Those are all the assumptions I have to share with you today. I'm sure I had many more assumptions, and I can't think of any, and this episode would be 15 hours long if I ended up doing that. So I'm not going to do that to you. But that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for 1 year of Filipino American Creative. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, leave me a comment, whatever you want to do. Thank you again. Salamat po. And I will see you next week. Fil-Am. Goodbye.